Let's see, if you fail to plan, then you will plan to fail. This is kind of like a pre-planning meeting. When I came earlier in the month, I talked with Todd. It's like other ETCs, other people have pre-planning meetings, teachers. I think we should have a pre-planning meeting because last school year we had just under 28,000 tickets. 28,000 tickets. So you guys all worked a lot of tickets, and there's no reason to believe that we're not going to break that number this year. So now there's only a handful of us in this room, right? But there's 28,000 tickets. So those tickets are going to come flying in. So we need a game plan, right? And I've said in the past, I said, well, basically you can categorize your tickets into two kinds, right? You've got your Chromebook break fix, screens, batteries, keyboards, system boards, which I know system boards take time, but especially like Acer and the whole process takes time. But you could say, okay, I know how to fix those. And then you take the other tickets and you're like, categorize, okay, these are kind of weird. I've heard of that, I haven't heard of that. That's what I'm trying to help you guys approach, okay? So game plan, we basically need to set up a flow. If you set up a methodology, a flow for every problem, because if you think about a ticket, it's just a problem. So as we're tackling these problems, if we all have a game plan and we're all on the same page, and the flow, the way that we approach our tickets, if we can be unified in how we do this, I think we're going to be able to tackle this. Keep your dashboards low. The whole reason I even put time into doing this is my desire for you guys is you're spending less time having to work tickets and, more downtime basically. not that, we don't want to tell people we get downtime, but I want you guys to be able to breathe. Like, all right, breathe. So you're not feeling like overwhelmed, like, oh, I'm constantly working tickets each and every day. So here's how I came up with this information. The last couple of years I've been looking at tickets, specifically looking at tickets escalated to the sysadmin team. And there were some commonalities. And there was a lot of back and forth about, okay, you escalated to sysadmin, but we need this information. So now you're having to circle back to that same person that you're already in the room with, and you're like, well, actually now I need to know this or that, and you're trying to gather some more information. So step one really is data collection. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into it. And then step two would be some baseline troubleshooting. Maybe it's the hardware, maybe it's the software, maybe it's the network, baseline troubleshooting. And then step three, which I don't know if we do a lot of this, but I'm trying to develop out in all of those ticket problems, just under 28,000 ticket problems, we started to see trends and we started to identify the problem and pair them with a solution. And that's where the knowledge base came into play. Do you remember in the early days in Incident IQ, I created a knowledge base. Rick Ward, he was with me. We're kind of figuring out, okay, what do we do if we come across this problem or that problem, and create documents of solutions. And which is a good idea, because if that solution works at your site, what's to say it's not going to work at all the sites too. So it became kind of like a centralized source of information. Like, if you have this problem, do this. And our problems and solutions are kind of unique to where we are in the school system. And so even if I search Google, the problem with that is it's going to give me all kinds of information. If any of you ever worked on a car, it's like, well, if I'm not hearing direct from the manufacturer, I'm hearing from Joe Schmo over here on how to fix this, his solution may not be the right thing to do. And then I'm back at the auto parts store, right? And I'm like, well, that didn't work. And so you always figure out okay, well, what's a verified steps of solution? And so that's where the knowledge base came into play, is, we have verified solutions to problems. Now, do those verified solutions stay a solution over years and years and years? No. Technology changes, right? We went from having the Active Directory Windows 10 system to the Azure Intune Windows 11 system. So some of those documents had to be updated, modified, changed along the way. And then step four is escalation. And I put knowledge base before step four because if you haven't checked a proven knowledge base for a solution, then why are we even escalating the ticket in the first place? And then step five, which I think a majority of you guys do really well, but step 5 I just want to emphasize is we got to, put notes on the ticket. Okay, here's the problem we found. Here's the steps that we used to solve it. And then we also confirmed it. We circled back with the user who actually put the problem in the ticket in the first place to verify with them, yes, this is working. And the reason why that's important is they're the ones who created the ticket. And guess what? They can reopen the ticket if they're not happy with the resolution. So, all right, so let's talk a little bit more about data collection. And in the past trainings from last year, I talked about, I kind of call these the big 4. And the reason these came up is when I was looking at the sysadmin escalated ticket queue, I would look and there would be some back and forth about, well, can you find out what's the username? And the reason why that's important is the user has permissions. Tony and all the accounts and permissions and the groups and all that stuff, if the user's not given the right permissions, that might be the problem. But if it's like Jane Doe and it's like there's 2 of them, and Tony's like, well, I don't know which Jane Doe this is, that's where we need the username, the actual username. The host name, that identifies, okay, what specific machine is having this problem? The host name is extremely important because we could be looking at a computer that we think, oh, it's that machine that's having the problem, when in fact it was this other machine that's having the problem. But all that means is as you're collecting data, and we can all do this, you don't need to have, this is just, when you're approaching the ticket and the problem, we can all collect data, information. This is pretty straightforward. And then the MAC address, especially if it's a network-related ticket, get the MAC address. That's kind of uniquely tells us, okay, where is this happening on the network level? And then any kind of screenshots. And I saw back and forth about, well, what exactly is the error message? Have you tried to duplicate the issue? And do you have a screenshot or screen recording, just so we could see exactly what's going on? Yes, George?
Hey, real quick, on step 3 of this, on the data, since you're already checking the MAC address, really do that.
Absolutely.
That'll pay dividends when you're troubleshooting, like trying to work with Prince Employee.
And you know where you can get a ton of this information? All of you guys who, command prompt, just do ipconfig/all. Boom, you got a ton of information right there. You got your IP address, you got your MAC address, you've got your host name. Pretty much the only thing you wouldn't have would be the username at that point. And then a screenshot. So when we approach a ticket, step 1 is collect data. Get the information. And I know we can all do that. There's no need to, oh, I got to reach out to this person or that person. If you're on site and you're the hands and the eyes on site with the problem, you're able to gather that information, and guess where we put it? We put it in the ticket. The best place to communicate that information, in the ticket. And of course, I've got tutorials showing you how to create tickets, how to work tickets, how to escalate tickets. If you need a little bit deeper dive, I've got to book me. You can always book a session with me. I'd be happy to go over that with you, or when I'm on site with you. I know this past summer I navigated toward each one of you guys to kick off the ClearTouch panel project. And for August, my plan right now is I'm going to do some more visits just to make sure you guys are equipped, you're supported, you've got everything you need to be able to work these tickets. And of course, you'll see me around the district anyway, because I kind of navigate toward problems because I help author the knowledge base, right? So, okay, step 2, we gathered the information, and now it's your time to shine, right? Baseline troubleshooting. And if you look at it, look at the hardware level. Is everything plugged in properly? Does it have power? Does it have network connection? The physical device, any cables, peripherals, is it powered on? The machine itself, is it functioning? Again, the majority of your Chromebook tickets that flow in, that's going to be on the hardware level, right? Because it's, oh, I got a busted screen, I've got a keyboard, I've got system board, daughter board, my whatever, it's not working on the hardware level. That's the break fix. And from the trends I've seen, and like at middle and high school, now we have a centralized repair location, right? All the kids, now that they're one-to-one, they're actually bringing the Chromebook to the media center or wherever it's at. So when you show up on site, you should be able to have, okay, I've got my stack of these need to be fixed, and these are tickets. And as long as I've got the parts, which I really appreciate the warehouse team, you guys work really hard at making sure once we have parts in stock, we get parts out on the site. Once you have the part and you got the ticket, I don't see any excuse not to have that done like same day, not next day. I know tickets flow in. We prioritize, of course, panels. Clear touch panels are number one because you got all the eyes, all the, that's impacting instructional learning. You got teacher notebooks. That's, important. We've got printing. George, I like you a lot, but printing's not going to be as prioritized, only because if I can't print here, I can go print there. But you have to start looking at it as a priority list. In your mind, just think, okay, as I'm approaching these problems, as I'm doing my baseline troubleshooting, as I'm doing the tickets, let's prioritize. If you get an admin principal ticket, hey, guess what? I'm going to drop what I'm doing. Let me go take care of that. But when you go take care of the baseline troubleshooting, checking the hardware, checking the software, in the time that it takes for us to say, let's go ahead and update the drivers and the BIOS, and you might be like quick to say escalate to sysadmin team, you could have just downloaded the drivers and the BIOS right there in the time it would take to escalate and say, hey, I need some drivers and BIOS pushed out to this machine. I only say that because as I was talking with the sysadmin team, we do have packages, that's true. We can push it through PDQ to install drivers and BIOS updates, things like that. But if you've got your hands and your eyes on the machine right there, just take a few minutes to start running those updates. You know what I'm saying? And then network. We want to see, okay, what's the connectivity? Remember last school year we ran into that about are they on the client or on the guest? And that third octet was the identifier, because you have the 10 dot whatever the site is, dot is it in the client range, 0 through 9, or is it on the guest? And we were coming across some certificate issues and looking at the network connectivity. Maybe that's why they don't see the printers, because they're not on the client network. They don't have the connection that they need. So this is all baseline troubleshooting. So as you're addressing the issue, addressing the problem, just identify, okay, where's the root cause? Where's the problem? Where is this coming from? And just consider that part of the flow. And so, step one was data collection. We're collecting all the data, the big four, a username, the host name, the MAC and IP address, and a screenshot or screen recording. And then the baseline troubleshooting, we're addressing any hardware, software, network problems. And I always like to say too is if you're addressing a primary concern, also look for any other secondary concerns too. A good example of that is if I've got my hands on a teacher notebook and the primary concern is I'm having difficulty printing, and we get them back on the client, and now they can print. While you've got your hands on the machine, check and see if they need drivers and BIOS updates too. That's actually helping prolong the technology lifespan and repeat tickets, because you're kind of like a one-stop shop, like, okay, I'm going to take care of everything while I've got my hands on it. I always liked with the Chromebooks, you get a microfiber cloth, wipe off the fingerprints, return it in better condition than you received it. Run any updates, just run any updates, check the hardware, check the software, check the network, make sure it's fully functioning before we put it back in production. All right, and then knowledge base. This is where, okay, maybe my baseline troubleshooting is coming to a stall. And I know that there's sometimes as a technician, I think, well, let me just kind of spin my wheels a little bit. I'm going to research a little bit more. I'm going to see, okay, let me try to figure this out on my own. And you feel like I don't want to ask for help because it's kind of like, I take pride in my work. If there's known solutions to problems, I would be definitely utilizing that support piece. And the nice thing about knowledge base is it takes the power of Google search, right? But it combines it with sources that we feed it. So it's not looking all outside the world, it's just looking at the sources that we tell it. That's how the AI knowledge base works. And in the Incident IQ, the search was limited because of, I'd have to put tags to each article. But here, it uses a smart search to be able to find out from the sources that we feed it, what's the solution, and it gives it a nice format. It's easy to read, easy to follow. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit more about the knowledge base coming up here in a moment. And then step 4, okay, we check the knowledge base, we find a verified solution. What if you don't find a verified solution? That's where we can utilize things like site tech support chat or ticket escalation to team up with someone to do something that maybe only the team can do to help fix the issue. I do want to clarify with site tech support chat, that's going to be more so for quick real-time questions or confirming a step before you proceed. Maybe you found some steps to a solution, or if you have issues that maybe just need a second opinion. But what it's not used for is any kind of formal action that you need sysadmin to do. An example, now last year we kind of let it slide a little bit because we had that trending issue about BitLocker key, remember? And we're like, okay, we're getting all kinds of serial numbers pushed through site tech support chat, and we're like, okay, we sent a self-destruct message for each BitLocker recovery key. But really for tracking purposes, if you need us to do something specific like that, we should have it in a ticket to be able to track it, because guess what? Incident IQ, we can pull up reports and see trends and to see, okay, how many of these laptops were impacted and how many times did we have to fix that particular machine. So now we get like a history of, these are some historic problems we had with that machine. Problems that we can document and create a paper trail for. And then anything that's basically unresolved after the chat support, we want to put through a ticket escalation. So at this point, you've gathered data, you did baseline troubleshooting, you used your resources like the AI-powered knowledge base, and now you've done a ticket escalation, or you've consulted site tech support chat. And what I like about site tech support chat is you guys are quick to help each other. You know, we're a team, and so a lot of you guys have answers pretty quick. And so, you know, if just because you haven't seen that problem doesn't mean someone else hasn't seen that problem before. And then the last step, our game plan, step 5, would be to document and verify. And this is a step I like because now if I can look at your tickets and I can see here's some documented verified solutions that actually resolve the problem, now I can feed the sources for knowledge base to make that even better. And if, as you're using knowledge base, if you come across a solution that I've authored and it's not correct, reach out to me direct and we can make it right. We can update it and we can make it better. So that really, the knowledge base, we can all own together collectively to be able to make it a better tool, a powerful tool for all of us in the long run. So when we document and verify, we want to add the details, record what was found, what fixed it, and put that directly in the ticket for any future reference. And then we need to circle back with the user. And again, I'm big on that because the user is the one who put the ticket in, who has the problem. And so if they're not satisfied with the resolution, they may just reopen the ticket. And we don't want that. So please circle back with the user to verify. Now that's not related to things like, oh, my Chromebook keyboard's not working, and you replaced it and you fixed it. Okay, it's working. I can see it. It's working. That may not be circle back worthy, but if it's something that's important to the user that they've, you know, put the ticket in for, and you need to verify with them, have them test it. Test it out with them, make sure it's working. And then close the ticket after they verify, and then just, all I'm saying there is just don't close the ticket on assumption alone. Every ticket, same standard. Now at the beginning slide I said, if you fail to plan, then you're planning to fail. And that's why I wanted us to have a pre-planning meeting to say, okay, let's come up with a game plan that if we approach every ticket with the same standard, we're going to be able to tackle 28,000-ish tickets. I know that was based on last school year. I'm interested to see what happens at the end of this school year in a very streamlined method. And if we follow this method, I think we're going to see a lot of success, and you're going to have a lot less back and forth with tickets, and we're going to have a lot more resolution, and you'll see your dashboard come down, which is really my desire for each and every one of you guys. I know the ETCs will love it, because if they see their sites fully supported and the ticket counts are down, man, they're going to be singing your praises. You'll probably get invited to have, like, you know, lunch on them or whatever. And I know these sites, like when I was at the Vickery schools, they would bring in, you know, snacks and food and all that stuff, and say, hey, Mike, come on, you know, because they liked when I was working their tickets and helping out. So I wish the same for you guys. It's going to make you very popular at your sites if you follow a streamlined process and you're getting the tickets resolved in a quick manner. And what I always say is, when we looked at the 5-star feedback, time and time again, they would talk about your quality of work, your communication skills, and your speed of service. And I'm not just saying that because anytime I did the 5-star celebrations, that's the feedback we would get time and time again. It always came back to one of those 3 areas. So again, collect data, baseline troubleshooting. We got to research. Please use your tools. If you have your work phone, I'd recommend you download the NotebookLM app, and you just sign in with your Google account, your work Google account, and that you can just use that as a search function, and you can find the solutions. Hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you head over to my YouTube page, make sure you subscribe if you find these videos helpful. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.